Let's take a look at the problem of the day, and you can call us now. It says, put the following fractions in order from least to greatest. It's important to read all the words, right? Least to greatest, otherwise you might have them in reverse order and be in bad news there. You've got 2/3, 5/8, 3/4, and 7/12. Now, we didn't mix any decimals in there. They're all fractions, but decimals are fractions too, by the way. But let's see. We got 2/3, 5/8, 3/4, and 7/12. Let's play with these numbers a little bit. All right. Now, probably one of the best things, and you look at those, first of all, everybody's going, wow, are they any of them less than 1/2 or bigger than 1/2? Well, if you take a look at those, and I'm looking at them, boy, they're pretty close together, it looks like. We're going to have to really think hard on these. But I do notice 2/3 is a little bit more than 1/2. 5/8 is more than 1/2. Wow, 3/4 is more than 1/2. 7/12 is more than 1/2 because 6/12 would be that. So you see that? So the first thing tells us that they are greater than 1/2. Now the question is, how well do they relate to each other? What are we going to be looking at? So let's take a look. Go ahead and write the fraction down home if you haven't already. And I'm going to put my 2/3 right here. We'll leave a little space here because we're going to play with these. 5/8, 3/4, and then I'll put 7/12 down here. And I like to look at these things basically two at a time. There's no need to get all excited or upset. And I notice some things that are starting to appeal to me. They really do. They're appealing. I notice that 4 will divide into 8 evenly. So those two basically will work together to give me an 8. All right, 8 works there. Unfortunately, 8 and 12 get a little strange. And a lot of times I know people say, multiply the two numbers together to get a common denominator. Well, it's not the least common denominator, but it is a common denominator. But man, when you're up to 8 and 12, that's getting pretty high. So why don't we do this? Why don't we play that game though, but let's go with the 3 and the 8. They're basically, well, one's kind of in the middle, one's at the front, small, and we can handle that. And let's work with 24. We know 24 has got to be a common denominator for these. Now, another note, some of y'all are probably, well, why don't you just go ahead and divide those and make decimals? Well, we could do that, but let's work it with the fractions first, then we'll come back and check it. How about with the decimals? Everybody says, okay, that's good, that's good. So we're going to look at, and I want to get something with 24 in here. All right, so let's see what it's going to take. It's going to take multiplying by 8 to the denominator. Now remember, if you do the denominator, we got to do the numerator. So that's going to pop us in with 16 right up there. So I'm just going to draw little lines down here so we can keep them straight. Now, with 5/8, what is it going to take? It's going to take multiplying by 3 to get that 24. Exactly. And we're going to do 3 into the numerator also. So we're at 15 over 24. Now remember I told you these are pretty close together. Look at that. They're 1/24 apart. All right? Very, very close together. Now, let's keep working down the line here. See how close these other little guys are going to be. You may be very surprised how we pick some fractions that are really, really very, very close. This one, I need 24. Well, 4 goes in there evenly, right? I think a 6 is what we would like to use. So let's multiply by a 6 there, because that'll get us 24. And put a 6 on top. We now have 18. So far, this one is winning the race for the biggest value. All right, it may continue to win it. We'll see. And draw one more line down through here. And let's see, what does it take to get a 24 to pop up over here? We want a 24. Everybody realize that. It needs to double. So we'll just put a 2 here, but we'll also multiply the 7 by 2 up on top. And my goodness, look how close we are. It looks like 14 out of 24. So only thing I couldn't find was 17 out of 24. These are really bang, bang, bang right in a row. With the exception, the 18 got bumped up just a notch above 16, a little bit further than the others are when we separate them out. So let's place it. This one, by the way, why do we do the common denominator? So we can compare. We can compare. And some of you are already thinking, oh, benchmark fractions. Well, these are not, well, 2/3 is a kind of benchmark fraction. But a lot of times we don't think of how does 2/3 compare against 3/4, although we do know it's a little bit smaller, all right? Because this is like saying 75 cents, 75%, or 75 hundredths, that kind of thing when we think of decimals. But right now we got the 14 here, so that is our smallest. We'll say this one is our medium, okay? This one is our large. shirt sizes, you know. And then finally we have our XL there in that order. So when we go back to the original fractions, remember we're going back to that because on those multiple choice questions, they're going to use these four fractions. Again, they're not going to give you the common denominator moment, the least common. In this case, it was the least common denominator we have. But what they're going to do, they're going to go back to the one that was 14, which is 7/12. Then kick around the thought there. It looks like we're going to 5/8. Now we come to 2/3. And last but not least, what was that last one? 3/4. And there are your four nice ordered from least to greatest fractions there. So problem of the day, pretty quick solving there, pretty easy.